Joining me now is film and television director Ava DuVernay. Ms. DuVernay, thank you for joining us tonight. We love that you're our final Politics Nation guest for 2023. Before we get to your film, Origins, which I watched last night and took a lot away from it, I'll be using it in sermons, but don't tell anyone. I want to get your reaction to comments made this week by Republican presidential candidate and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who refused to identify slavery as the primary cause of the American Civil War and failed to do so even given the chance to clarify her remarks. Given your project now, what are your thoughts on that tonight?
Well, hello, Reverend Al. I'm happy to be with you whenever I do get the chance to see you. So good evening, and thank you for having me. I think they're two pretty challenging issues when you think about the Nikki Haley debacle that we're all experiencing. Either she didn't know that slavery was the reason for the Civil War beginning, or she doesn't want to say and wants to kind of continue the lies of omission that have become the hallmark of her party. A party that is thriving off of the idea that you can take knowledge out of the public sphere and defend things that are unconscionable. And so it is not surprising, but it's certainly a part of an ongoing litany of real warnings that I think we should all heed. I mean, they're basically saying what they want to do and what they will do and what they've already done. And so I heard that and wasn't shocked by it, but feel like my hope is that it is a wake-up call to the dangerous, kind of deranged idea that history doesn't matter anymore. And that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to make this film.
Now, I want to get to your film, this latest film, Origin, which is brilliant, ambitious, and inspired by the book Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by author Isabel Wilkerson. To me, the film is a long list of questions reflecting the book. It's a quest for answers about race, class, and social mobility. Here's a sample.
On this day, he folded his arms rather than salute a regime that deemed that love illegal. On this day, he was brave. He couldn't have been the only one who felt something tragic was happening. So why was he the only one among the men to not go along that day? Perhaps we can reflect on what it would mean to be him today. I'll leave you with that.
I mean, that was one of the compelling scenes to me. As the adopter of her book, has Wilkerson found the answers to those big questions she engages with, in your view?
I think one of the things that really attracted me to the book, and one of the reasons why I want to make the film, is I think the book and hopefully the film itself becomes a place for engagement around the questions. I like the idea that at the end of the book, after reading it even 3 times, I had more questions, and feel that agreement is not the goal. Engagement is the goal. We want to be able to talk to each other about what is ailing us. And so often we don't do that. We're in silos. We're in our own corners. And so I like the fact that the book asks more questions than it answers. And hopefully the film does that as well.
The killing of Trayvon Martin underpins this film from its original scene. And, I was very involved in the Trayvon Martin movement. And it hit me hard because I'll never forget when attorney Ben Crump came to me with the details of that tragedy and brought the parents of Trayvon, which occurred less than a year after this show launched. And I put them on the show to help start the marches we did and make it national. But you've been dramatizing our pain for a decade now, going back to your 2014 film Selma, and of course your TV series When They See Us a few years ago, which prompted you to open this film with Trayvon. Story, what the book was, is that what prompted you to start this film on the Trayvon story?
Yeah, well, I feel like Reverend Al, I don't know if I feel that I'm dramatizing our pain. I feel that I'm dramatizing our triumph over, continuous adversity. And that all of the stories, in order to show, how we made it over, we have to show what we're making it over. And, in even talking with Miss Fulton, Trayvon's mother, she, in the same way of Mamie Till, in the great tradition of Black mothers who want to talk about this, to share, to show, to make sure that these instances, these murders, this injustice is not forgotten on the road to justice. And so in the film and in adapting the book cast, Isabel Wilkerson told me that Trayvon Martin, that case was one of the early and foundational cases that helped her start to think about the thesis that she would ultimately undertake proving, that was a real impetus for her. And so I wanted to make sure that I honored that and opened the film with that.
Now, going back to your 2014 film, Selma, you collaborated with Oprah Winfrey, who also leads in the iconic 1985 film version of The Color Purple. And I remember having a conversation with you and Oprah in South Africa when all of us were there to be part of the ceremony. I put a picture of that up. I keep it in my office of you and Oprah and I backstage. We both were doing different things, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Nelson Mandela. But she's a producer on this latest film adoption of Color Purple, what just became the second highest grossing film to premiere on Christmas Day since 2009. We're coming off historic strikes in Hollywood, and we've heard on this show from Black creatives word that film studios will be adverse to taking perceived risks on Black voices going forward. As an industry veteran, do you think the box office successes of your films and The Color Purple will push the studios to keep taking those perceived risks?
Oh, no. No, not at all. That's why I made Origin independently. This is not a film that a studio would make. Hey, I want to make a film about caste. I want to make a film that addresses, the unfolding of a mystery that affects us all, something that we don't even talk about, the hidden arcs of history and power and injustice. That's not getting greenlit quickly. And stories along these lines, from people of all colors that actually are talking about history, they're talking about contemporary social issues, are really difficult to get made. So for us, we did not do that. We raised the money independently through philanthropic organizations and like-minded individuals who believe in justice and dignity for all and wanted to make the film. The Ford Foundation, Melinda Gates, Lorene Powell Jobs, Kimberly Stewart, Ann Wojcinski, people, Chris Paul, the NBA star, people who got together and said, we need to talk about these things in our movies. And since the studios won't do it, we will. And so to your question, I think there are some beautiful treasures that make their way through, like The Color Purple, beautiful film, gorgeously done and having a lot of success. But overall, we need to find new ways to tell the stories that we want and need to tell.
Well, you have told it well over and over again. We're honored to end this year on this program with you, the one and only Ava DuVernay. Thank you and good luck with the movie. I recommend it.
Thank you, Reverend Al. Opens January 19th. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.